Hello maths people. I've had a few questions about car and trailer questions, and so I've made my own car and trailer. This one driven by Wolverine, of course, and here's his trailer. So usually the first part of questions we're using F equals ma, or we're using SUVAT with maybe the whole system as if they're completely fixed. And as long as Wolverine is accelerating, he's exerting a force on the trailer through this rope. So the force is pulling away from the trailer, force is going in the direction of motion, and that's the tension in the rope T. It's also exerting a force, if this is a light and inextensible towing situation, it's exerting a force T backwards on Wolverine, so it's holding him back by the same amount. So that force balances out if we look at the whole system as if it's just a sort of fixed one vehicle. We still can use F equals ma and SUVAT with that. It's only if we need to find the tension between them, this T, that we need to look at one of the vehicles or the other one. Usually the trailer is a little bit simpler because it doesn't have its own driving force, apart from just the T, tension in the string. So what really happens when you're towing with a rope, for the second part of these questions, what makes it tricky is that something changes, and often that change is that rather than accelerating, Wolverine's going to decelerate, and if he decelerates suddenly, the trailer can shoot past him, or worst case scenario, and may you be spared from ever having an old car that doesn't start like I used to, where you end up in the trailer position. If he stops very suddenly, he could even get rear-ended by his trailer and smash himself up. I'm sure there's some YouTube videos on that in real life, which would be pretty expensive looking. So what changes is if we do suddenly decelerate, or any sort of deceleration, what happens is that tension disappears in the tow bar or the tow rope. If it's a rope, of course, the space can be taken up. But if it's a tow bar and it's rigid, then what we get is this thing called thrust rather than tension, which is where the is exerting a pushing force back on the trailer to slow it down. And likewise, as it decelerates, the tow bar also is pushing the car forward and making it harder for it to slow down. So this thrust acts in the opposite direction. It acts towards the trailer and towards the car when we're in a deceleration mode. So it's the opposite directions, and your arrows will be pushing towards the trailer and towards the vehicle. Whereas if we're accelerating, that tension is pulling away from the car and away from the trailer at the same time. So if something changes, if force changes, if you've got a deceleration, then draw yourself a new diagram, because some of your forces will have changed direction. A braking force, of course, will be acting backwards instead of a driving force acting forwards. So get your F equals ma and do SUVAT if you need to, and you can work out what's going on. And you might have to solve simultaneously, so you might have to look at the whole system. So that's one option. You've got the option just to look at what's going on for the car, Wolverine or no Wolverine, and you've got the option to just look at what's going on for the trailer. And your unknowns, things like your acceleration or your thrust, you might get two equations that you can then eliminate either T or A and find the other one. So have a go with those. Share if you've got a nice towing video. Maybe you've got some faster cars in your house. and you can show me some of your creative exploits. See you later.